Okay, ni hao, wish Stephanie. This is my first in the dark video. We'll see how this goes. I might have to pause it a few times. I just had the most wonderful massage and I felt like bringing myself back down to earth, so I did another listening, and another HSK listening. Chapter 14, hold on a second. Chapter 14, which I am holding in my hand along with the remains of my dinner that I also had while I was doing my listening. I'm still having some serious issues with specific sounds, and I will share those with you in just a second. I've got to figure out how to hold the food at the same time. Should have thought of this before I pressed play. I thought it would be too dark for this, but this street is actually pretty good for this. So, hold on one second. Okay, this is a pretty good lit area. Let me see if I can get some of the things. I wrote, for part one, I wrote tianguo, when it's actually pinguo, apple. I don't have the tones, but it's definitely, I heard a T sound and it's actually a P sound. That was interesting. I don't think I've made that mistake before. So, oh, dare I put my bag down on a trash can so I can do this? Yes, I do. Also, I wrote Kanjian, SH, and it's actually Kanjian. So I confused SH with J. So I'm making mistakes like that. However, the biggest problem that I had, especially in part 3, which will forever kick my ass, is the word order is so different, it's crazy. I feel like one of the notes that I wrote is that because the question word appears to come at the end, and again, I've got 13 examples from previous chapters for the listening, so I don't have a wide corpus, okay? But I'm making an assumption so far. I hope that wind's not too loud. It feels really good. But I think the question words come at the end, and that really messes me up because they do the conversation part, which is short but fast, and then they do the question, and the question word comes at the end of the question, and you need the question word in order to know what to listen for to circle the right answer, but the question word's at the end of the question, and so I feel like I have to spend the entire first listening, which is the dialogue and the question, just getting the question word so I know what to listen for the second time around. And if that's a technique that works, then that's totally fine. And if that's something I need to do for now, until I can understand without trying to understand, if that makes sense, then that's what I need to do. But it's taken me 13 listenings, well 14 now, because I just finished chapter 14. So it's taken me 14 listenings to figure out that is why it is so overwhelming in part 3. Well, that and the speed and the content is much longer than in the other listenings. Part 1 is super easy now, except for some very brief phonetic things like I just mentioned. But the speed and the content of part 3 and the questions are kicking my butt. So I think what I'm going to do is blow up the dialogue for part 3. And I'm going to shadow. I put it on my weekly lesson today, is to start shadowing starting next week. So I'm going to take that blown up dialogue. I'm probably going to pinion it, maybe on the back I'll put some pinion so I know what I'm doing. And I just love seeing random stuff in the wild, right? Well, hold on one second, it's getting crowded. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to blow up the dialogue from part 3, and I'm going to put on my headphones, and I'm going to walk around, whether it be at home or in a park, like I mentioned, one of the polyglots that was interviewed for Babel No More. That's it, Babel No More, the book. I think I might do that. Who knows? Maybe that'll be interesting. Maybe somebody will correct my tones. I would if I were them. But I think to get the blending right, which will not only help my speaking, which isn't a super goal, but it will help my listening, which wouldn't be a bad thing to have. Got across the street, hold on. Okay, so that's my new listening goal, is to get the blending down by shadowing, and then hopefully the listening when I get to the HSK book, which is one more listening away. So not this week coming up because I'll be on vacation, and I'm going to take it as a review week for listening-wise. I'm going to go back to part 3, the ones that were the most difficult, and I'm going to do those during vacation. Yes, I study during vacation. My lapse times seem to be when I'm at home, not when I'm actually away. Go figure. Anyway, so yeah, so when I come back, that's when I'll start the HSK 2. Actually, a couple of weeks after that, because I think maybe I'll review for a while, because I don't want to start the HSK 2 listening until after the HSK 1 test, which is at the end of April. So I think that's what I'll do. So I'm actually kind of ahead of schedule, but I do have quite a bit of listening to do. I can easily spend, and will spend, 2 to 3 weeks going over just part 3 for all 15 chapters of listening. So there's that, and there's still some of the vocabulary that I'm struggling with. So now I'm going down a darker street, so I'm going to say goodbye, and this has been my listening update for today. Thank you, Sachin.